It's the Daily Dispatch, in discussion with Daron Mann.
In the Daily Dispatch for today, the 14th of October, miracle baby pulled alive from grave after 24 hours. A 3-day-old girl has earned the name of Miracle Baby after surviving 24 hours buried in a shallow grave next to her grandparents. The baby was found buried in the backyard of her family home near Tsomo, where she had been born just hours before. Neighbours and family rushed to search what they believed was a corpse after being told by a 34-year-old mother that she'd buried her newborn. Everyone feared the worst until the baby screamed and lifted her little fingers. Also off the front page of the Daily Dispatch today, top Bishu official resigns after being suspended. Former Eastern Cape Office of the Premier, CFO and Chief Director, Hannah Mirkaza Nchilinga, has resigned. The resignation follows her suspension in September, pending a disciplinary process. For more on these and other stories, go to dispatchlive.co.za.
Enter the Daily Dispatch Winner Car competition and you could drive away in the new 7-seater Suzuki Ertiga 1.5 GA. The competition closes on the 21st of November 2021 and an entry form is printed in the Daily Dispatch every day. The more you enter, the luckier you get. Get your copy of the Daily Dispatch and enter now. Win a car, proudly brought to you by Daily Dispatch and Ronnie's Motors.
So there is a row brewing in the Eastern Cape between Contralesa and the Eastern Cape government regarding the implementation of a proposed new law reducing the number of traditional leaders who can serve on municipal councils. It's something which has certainly set the cat amongst the pigeons. Joining us on the show this morning is the Contralesa Provincial Chair, Advocate Mwelo Nonkonyana. Advocate, good morning. Thank you for joining us. I'm taking it that you are not in favour of these proposed law changes.
Morning, Sam, and morning to all your viewers and listeners. Pleasure to have me. And indeed, we are fundamentally opposed to anything that is oppressing the institution of traditional leadership or oppressive to our members. And there can never be anything about us without us. And we fought so hard for our voices to be heard, and we fought so hard for democracy to be achieved, and we can ill afford to afford our own government to really frustrate our rights in this regard. And as you pointed out, in terms of the Municipal Laws, Municipal Structures Act of 1998, Section 81, we are supposed to have a 20% representation. That was a compromise that we have reached, and our members have been participating ever since because we're keen to see to the development of our areas, particularly the delivery of municipal services in our areas. And our members have been participating, and we were now coming closer to our councillors so that we can work hand in glove to deliver the needed services to our traditional communities. Now the government has actually, without consulting traditional leaders, and particularly the organization Congress of Traditional Leaders of South Africa, withdrew that, and now we're told only a few that will be led by the chair of the local house. And that is a strategy to weaken and divide the institution of traditional leadership, because they are pitting senior traditional leaders against the heads of administrative areas, so-called headmen, in their perceived idea from our side of dividing and rule, and therefore weaken the institution of traditional leaders. Hence, we decided to be united and fight against this thing, because besides that, our sub-headmen charged of certain wards in traditional communities are not paid a cent, yet the ward committees are actually remunerated by our own government. We feel that this is unfair discrimination, which is prohibited by the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. So clearly, what is actually happening is wrong and illegal. As if that is not enough, the widows of our kings in the province and all our traditional leaders, the gratuity that were payable to them have been unilaterally withdrawn by our own government. We brought this thing to the their attention that it is illegal, it is unfair, and the government is actually not responding to us. Hence, we decided to write a letter and give 5 days period for them to return again to March to Bisho, because we believe therefore that we need to do that before the holding of the local government election come 1st November 2021, because we would love to have certainty what is going to happen after the elections of local government.
Advocate, are you planning any legal action in this regard, or what form will your protest take?
Yes. First of all, this one is political. And we have already sent from our legal gurus, and we're very, very happy that eminent silk in the country are keen to really assist us should everything else fail. As I tell you now, and we are going to be announcing the firm and the team of legal representatives in due course, because besides these things that are of immediate effect, there are also other that we feel that we are unfairly discriminated against, because the local houses have no infrastructure at all in this province. They have no powers, they have no budget. Traditional councils is the same, and it is only to the limited extent the provincial house that is taken care of. And again, besides that, the budgets to these traditional authorities ever since the advent of democracy, they have not been given a cent by our democratic government. And we feel, therefore, that there is really unfairness on the part of the traditional leaders in this country, and unfair discrimination between them as well as other public representatives, such as councillors, for instance, members of provincial legislature, and even members of parliament. We are of the view, therefore, that the role and place of traditional leaders in all spheres of government must be respected, so that the provincial chapter 3 of the Constitution, which actually promotes cooperative governance, can have real meaning. Because now, as we speak, the local houses should actually act with the district municipalities. There's nothing like that. And the provincial house must actually act hand in glove with the legislature. There's nothing like that. The members of the legislature are actually paid handsomely. The members of the provincial house, peanuts, and everything, even including the national. So we're of the view that those are other things that must be dealt with. And we have the view that let us deal with those that are of immediate concern first, which we feel that it is within the powers of our provincial government to deal with it. Because we feel that if we sit around the table with them, they will be able really to accede to those legitimate demands. Of course, failing which we will have to march and protest. And our people on the ground also are actually planning their own way of supporting our cause, because we are leaders of the people on the ground about what is actually happening in the province.
Advocate, as you pointed out, the Traditional Leadership Governance Framework Act and the Municipal Structures Act of 1998 provided for a maximum of 20% representation of traditional leaders in municipal councils. But the new Traditional and Khoisan Leadership Act of 2019, signed into law by President Cyril Ramaphosa in April, and the amended Municipal Structures Act now allow a maximum of only 3 traditional leaders in councils. In terms of blunt numbers, how many people are likely to be affected by a change like this?
Well, a lot. Besides that, there is another thing that is going to really affect us. As you know, that we were relying on those members who are serving these councils to be part of committees of a municipal council. The 3, how can they be able to really make meaningful representation in any committees of a council? And besides, the chair of the local house has got a responsibility, major responsibility in the local house. Why must he or she be diverted and then be taken back? We have the view that this is another strategy to weaken these local houses. And besides, you know, and we feel it is really going to militate against the relationship that we have established with municipalities for over the years, including SALCA at the provincial level, because during the initiation, as you may know, we have got challenges, but we are relying mainly on our members who are serving in this municipal council. How can they be able to monitor then and make sure that our initiation or our custom not going to be brought to dispute? But no. And we're of the view, therefore, that really I think the government didn't think through, and it is precisely because they did not consult. They did not even consult with our own employees at the municipal council. Because, again, we don't know what is going to happen to those municipal traditional leaders come after the 1st of November. We know that the municipal councils, they are going to be given some remuneration after that. But as far as traditional leaders are concerned, nothing has been provided for. Nothing has been discussed with them, and they are affected. And they have been serving and representing us for all these years, and now after their term, and then nothing good they're going to get, and we are feeling that it is really unfair.
A final question for you, Advocate. Are direct discussions between Contralesa and the Eastern Cape government on the matter taking place at the moment? And if they are, how are they progressing, and where do you expect this to go to next?
We are expecting to receive, in fact, we did write an urgent letter to the provincial secretary of the African National Congress, and requesting that as a deployee of the government, let us have an urgent meeting within 5 days. We are expecting a report by today. And depending on their response, if they agree, I'm sure it will be public knowledge when we are going to meet, because we want to meet within 5 days. That is the mandate we have. And we hope, therefore, that they will lead to that reasonable request.
We thank you for joining us on the Daily Dispatch in discussion with Daron Mann this morning. Chief Advocate Mwelo Nonkonyana, he's the Contralesa Provincial Chair. Have a good day, sir.
It's my pleasure, my brother. Keep on doing the good work.
Well, we continue with the story about Contralesa traditional leaders claiming to be sidelined by the Eastern Cape government. Limited representation in municipal councils, one of the thorny issues discussed at a recent Contralesa special meeting. We did approach the Eastern Cape government for comment. Unfortunately, spokesperson Mamkeli Ngam was unavailable this morning and referred us to comments made to the Daily Dispatch yesterday to our reporter covering the story, Lulamile Feni. Lulamile joins us this morning. How are you, sir? And share with us what the Eastern Cape government's position on this thorny issue might be.
Thank you very much for having me. Fortunately, I've spoken to Mamkeli Ngam, and he put his side of the story. And also, above all, the MEC himself spoke to us. And the MEC said that the issue that has been raised by Contralesa are some of the matters that himself and the provincial government is dealing with. They are still debating on the issues that have been said. One of the issues that the MEC himself put is that the Contralesa also wanted to have the chairperson of a provincial of the local house and the deputy to be full-time members of the house, and they are working towards that. But problem that is facing the provincial government is financial budget cuts, so they can't do everything at the moment. But the MEC said that they are attending to all the issues that have been raised by Contralesa, and he pleaded with them not to take them the other way, but take confidence on them to see that they are going to resolve some of those matters that have been said. So he is willing to speak to speak to the Contralesa and discuss the matter. The MEC says that he has done so. He has tried to solve some of the matters or discuss some of the issues affecting traditional leaders through the Eastern Cape House of Traditional Leaders. There was a summit recently, according to the MEC, on traditional leadership and house. And those issues were also raised, and now the MEC is trying to attend to some of this. But the problem the MEC say facing the department is budget. They have some limited budget to attend to some of the issues. They are going to attend to some of the issues on on phases per financial year. So can't speak more on this. He said you would rather speak to Contralesa themselves, but not through the media. That's the stance of the MEC. What Mamkele have been said, actually, we are taking the stance that is said by the MEC. So the Mamkele Ngambi's comments are not going to be said, but the MEC has spoken.
Very well. I would like to ask you, given your experience, where do you see this matter progressing to? If they are having discussions behind closed doors, but there is the reality of a budget that needs to be adhered to, given your experience, Lulamile, where do you see this proceeding to?
For me, as a person who's been writing that would be a nice thing to have the MEC or the ANC leaders, because the matter has also been taken to ANC leaders, having a chat, sit around the table between the MEC and Contralesa, and the leadership of Contralesa and the MEC, and also the leadership, they can own out the stuff themselves. And that'd be a route to go for. It's the one of sitting around the table and discuss the matters themselves. I think that they can come up with understanding from both sides to understand each other better.
Well, we look forward to you continuing to cover this story, and we'll read that in the Daily Dispatch, also to be found on dispatchlive.co.za. That's Daily Dispatch reporter Lulamile Feni joining us today on the Daily Dispatch in discussion with Daron Mann. Thank you.
Thanks, Daron. Thank you.
That was the Daily Dispatch in discussion with Daron Mann.